You want to own the stadium hosting the World Cup, the biggest sporting event on the planet. 1 billion people watching, 60,000 fans packed into your building paying thousands of dollars a ticket. The whole world pointed at your venue for a month straight. Sounds like a money printer. It is not. Not for you. FIFA's walking away from this tournament with $11 billion. The stadium owner's cut of that? Zero. And by the end of this video, you are going to understand exactly how the most watched event in sports history is structured, so that the people who actually built the venues end up holding the bill while someone else cashes the check. And more importantly, you are going to understand what the people who built these stadiums actually knew that you didn't. Let's start at the beginning, because before you make a single dollar, you have to survive what it costs to get in the door. SoFi Stadium, Inglewood, California, home of the LA Rams, home of the LA Chargers, and right now, host of 8 FIFA World Cup matches including the US opener. The most expensive stadium ever built on planet Earth, $5.5 billion. For context, that is roughly double the cost of the next most expensive stadium in the world. And unlike almost every other major sports venue in America, almost none of that money came from taxpayers. One man wrote the check: Stan Kroenke, billionaire, Rams owner, real estate developer, private capital. His decision, his risk, his $5.5 billion. Now let's talk about what that buys you. You get 2 NFL tenants, the Rams and the Chargers, each paying $1 per year in rent. You read that right, $1 per year per team. The 2 franchises playing inside your $5.5 billion building are paying you a combined $2 in annual rent. That is not a metaphor. That is the actual lease structure. You have a naming rights deal. SoFi, the financial technology company, is paying somewhere between $400 and $600 million over 20 years to put their name on your building. That's real money. That is a serious revenue stream. Until you read the fine print on the FIFA contract, because the moment the World Cup kicks off, that name is gone. FIFA has a clean stadium policy. Any corporate sponsor that is not an official FIFA partner gets erased. Signage covered, name stripped, every broadcast, every ticket, every piece of official material calls your building Los Angeles Stadium. The company paying hundreds of millions for the right to plaster their name across the most watched venue in the world is completely invisible during the single biggest audience your stadium has ever had. SoFi is not happy about this. They knew it was coming. They could not stop it. That is the deal you made to host the World Cup. You give FIFA your building, and FIFA gives FIFA the credit. So you are in for $5.5 billion. Your tenants pay you $2 a year in rent. Your naming deal just disappeared, and the biggest event you will ever host is about to walk through your doors. Here is where you find out this was never about any of that. The game day revenue at a stadium is not the business. It never was. Not for gas stations, not for grocery stores, not for movie theaters, and not for stadiums. The game is the foot traffic generator. What you actually own is everything around it. Kroenke did not buy 298 acres in Inglewood to build a football stadium. He built a football stadium to unlock 298 acres in Inglewood. Hollywood Park, that is the name of the development surrounding SoFi, and it is not a parking lot. It is 2,500 residential units, 890,000 square feet of retail, 780,000 square feet of office space, a 13-story luxury hotel, a casino, a 6,000-seat entertainment venue, restaurants, parks, a brewery, a cinema. The NFL literally moved its West Coast headquarters onto the property, and here is the number that tells you everything. Commercial real estate values within 2 miles of the stadium have gone up 78% since construction started. 78% on land in Inglewood, a neighborhood people were not exactly lining up to invest in before a $5 billion anchor dropped from the sky. The stadium generates the gravity. The surrounding land captures the value. Kroenke is not in the sports business. He is in the real estate business that happens to use sports as the engine. Quick question before we go further. Did you know that FIFA takes the ticket revenue from your own stadium during the World Cup? Drop a yes or a no in the comments. I want to see who already knew this and who just got hit by it. Now here is where it gets genuinely uncomfortable, because what FIFA is doing in 2026 is not just unusual, it is a completely new structure that has never been tried at a World Cup before, and it is specifically designed to make sure that FIFA wins and everyone else manages the downside. In every previous World Cup, a local organizing committee ran ran the tournament. They absorbed the costs, and they shared in the revenue. There was at least some mechanism for host cities to participate in the upside. In 2026, FIFA eliminated that. For the first time in the history of the tournament, FIFA is running this thing directly. No local organizing committee with a seat at the revenue table. FIFA controls tickets. FIFA controls broadcast rights. FIFA controls sponsorships. FIFA controls hospitality. FIFA controls merchandise. The cities and the stadiums that make all of it possible control the costs. An economist at Smith College called it a structurally losing proposition. A University of Toronto study found that 12 of the last 14 World Cups produce net economic losses for their host regions. 12 out of 14. So what does the city actually pay? Security, transportation, field installation, fan zones, street closures, emergency services, stadium retrofits to meet FIFA standards, including ripping out the artificial turf at SoFi and laying down natural grass on a modular tray system because FIFA requires real grass for every match. Estimates put the cost burden on US host cities at somewhere between $100 and $200 million each, and the mayor of Los Angeles, when asked how much the city is spending, would not give a number. A ProPublica review of host city contracts concluded that almost all of the costs fall on local taxpayers. That is a quote. Toronto's costs went from tens of millions to an estimate of $380 million. And the revenue from those costs? Going to FIFA. All of it centralized, none of it shared. The Economist put it plainly, the host cities do not get the revenue, they get the costs. So why would anyone sign this deal? Why did Los Angeles, Dallas, Miami, New York, all of them raise their hand and say yes? Because they are not buying the World Cup. They are buying what the World Cup certifies. Here's what Kroenke's calendar looks like. Super Bowl in 2022, WrestleMania in 2023, World Cup 2026, Super Bowl again in 2027, Olympics in 2028. 5 of the most globally recognized events in sports and entertainment, back to back to back, all in the same building over 6 years. Each one of those events does not just generate revenue on its own. Each one justifies the pricing on everything else. Suites go up, naming rights, deals get renegotiated at higher numbers, corporate partnerships increase in value because the venue's brand becomes undeniable. Sponsors and broadcasters do not just pay for access to a stadium, they pay for access to a stadium with that calendar on its wall. The World Cup is a credential. It says this building is the kind of building that the World Cup happens in, and that credential multiplies the value of the next 10 years of business. Nobody is spending $5.5 billion to make money on 8 soccer games. They are spending $5.5 billion to create an asset so significant that every event, every deal, every partnership prices itself against an impossibly high bar. But let's be honest about something. Because this video would be doing you a disservice if we stopped here. The math only works if you own more than the building. Look at what happens to the stadiums in this World Cup that are publicly owned. AT&T Stadium in Dallas, NRG in Houston, Levi's in San Francisco, publicly funded venues. The cities absorbed the construction costs, and now they are absorbing the World Cup costs on top, while FIFA collects the revenue that was supposed to justify the whole thing. When you spend $100 million in public money hosting a tournament, and the ticket revenue goes to a Switzerland-based nonprofit, and the broadcast rights go to the same Switzerland-based nonprofit, you are not making an investment. You are making a donation with a press release attached. And there is a deeper problem. The economic impact numbers that FIFA and host city boosters publish are almost always overstated. The methodology counts all visitor spending as new money, when in reality, a lot of those visitors would have been somewhere else in the economy anyway. One economist put it this way: when you spend $400 on a World Cup ticket, that money goes directly to FIFA. It does not touch a single local worker. It does not get respite at a restaurant or a hotel. It leaves your city the moment you swipe your card. 12 of the last 14 World Cups. Net economic losses. For the host region, the prestige is real. The windfall is a talking point. So who actually wins? Let's be specific. Kroenke bought the Los Angeles Rams in 2010 for $750 million. That franchise is now valued at roughly $8 billion. The stadium was not the investment. The stadium made the investment possible. The team value multiplied because the stadium existed, because the stadium attracted the events, because the events justified the land development, because the land development created a district that generates value 365 days a year, not just on Sundays in October. The stadium itself generates an estimated $120 million in annual revenue when you combine SoFi and Hollywood Park. That is not $8 billion. But it is the engine that runs the machine that produced the $8 billion franchise valuation. And this is the thing that almost nobody understands about these venues. The game you are watching in the stadium is the least profitable thing happening on that property at any given moment. The naming rights deal running in the background is worth more. The suite packages sold to corporations for the decade are worth more. The apartment building going up 300 yards from the south entrance is worth more. And the franchise on the field, now worth 10 times what it cost because the stadium gave it somewhere to become irreplaceable, is worth more than all of it combined. The stadium is the loss leader. The neighborhood around it is the business. The franchise in it is the investment. And the World Cup is the advertisement that the whole world sees for free. Whether you walk away from all of this ahead or behind depends entirely on one question. Do you own the land, or do you just own the building sitting on it? Knowing everything you just heard, would you still want to own the stadium? Not the team, not the land, just the building? Let me know in the comments. I think the answer is more interesting than it sounds.